What is up, guys? Nick Daniels here, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking about the 10 lessons that I've learned from living overseas and living in Vietnam. Sadly, my journey is coming to an end here in Vietnam, and I've grown so much as a person, and I thought it would be really helpful to give my insights and what I've learned and some feedback to any of those listeners or viewers that would maybe consider traveling or maybe even wanting to come to Vietnam. Now, a lot of these reasons are my own reasons, but what I did is I also reached out to some friends to see what their learnings and stuff were, and come up with 10 really good lessons about what it's like to live in this beautiful country. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Lesson number 1. Be grateful for what you got. Don't take things for granted. Moving over to Vietnam, although coming from South Africa, where it's also there's a lot of poverty and it's a very poor country, just seeing the way that the people in this country who have so little are so appreciated for what they have. For example, just across the road we had a lot of construction, and there was a bunch of builders just building building like an apartment building next door, and every single night you would see these guys. I mean, these guys are sleeping on the floor, they're sleeping on the concrete, they're sleeping on like small little portable beds, but every single night you'll see them come out, they get together, they laugh, they make jokes, they have a few beers, and they're really just making the most of what they got. So examples like this have really opened my eyes to just be grateful for what you got. You know, there's people with a lot less out there, and although you might not have everything that you want, you definitely need to put things in perspective and think about those people who have less than you or are less fortunate than you. Another example would be the security guard who lives in my building. He sleeps on a tiny little, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a plastic little, it's almost like a camping bed. He sleeps on that every single night. Every single day when I'm leaving my apartment building, I walk outside, he's got a smile on his face, he greets me, he says hello, he's cooking his dinner on a little Bunsen burner. He has almost nothing, yet he's always the happiest person that I see during my day. He's always helpful, he's always there to support any of the tenants in the building, and he's just grateful for what he's got. And this has really opened my eyes. It's kind of taught me that, we never think that we have enough, but actually we need to put things into perspective and take into consideration those people who have less than us or are less fortunate than us. Lesson number 2, we need to be more environmentally sustainable. Moving over to Vietnam has really opened my eyes to the amount of plastic and amount of waste that people are just throwing out into the world. Now, by no means am I having a go at anyone here in Vietnam, but because I am definitely guilty of this, and since I've left South Africa, where we used to recycle, we used to put things in different bins, coming over to Vietnam, I have completely lost all regard for that, and I am guilty of it as well. However, for those of you who live in Vietnam, or those of you who have been here, it's very, very blatantly clear to see the amount of waste that just gets thrown away. It's so easy to eat out in this country, and it's so easy to just get a takeaway. I mean, I hardly ever cook, and with that takeaway comes heaps of plastic, comes heaps of polystyrene, comes heaps of cardboard, just waste in general. We're taking bins out every single day. Like I said, I'm guilty for this. I need to be better at it, but it is lesson number 2. Be more environmentally sustainable. Lesson number 3, patience. Now, coming from South Africa, I was an impatient person when I first got here 5 years ago. I wanted everything now. Everything had to be done around me, around my schedule. If it wasn't done around my schedule, it didn't work. Now, 5 years later on, I've realized the value of patience, and I credit this to actually my job, which is teaching. Being around so many kids all the time and in the classroom and having to manage all these kids really does test your patience, let me tell you. And not only that, there's always 1 or 2 naughty little kids in the class who are mucking around, who are not working, or there's those kids who just don't do their homework, or there's those underachieving kids who just really do try, but they just take a really long time to get there. And having worked with these kids for 5 years, many different kids, it's really taught me the value of patience. Also, we need to remember that we are in a foreign country, guys. This is not our country. Things take time to learn. You need to adapt to the new lifestyle, the new people that you're meeting, the new places that you're going. And lastly, when making big decisions, take your time. When I first got here, I would always impulse buy or make a big decision. Like, for example, the bike that I bought. I love my bike and I still use it. However, I drove all the way out to District 7. For those of you guys who know Saigon, I go from District 2 to District 7 and it's quite a journey. I drove all the way out there, I saw this bike, I fell in love with it and I bought it straight away. And I found out that a week or two after I bought it, I was having problems with the bike, I had to service it. So instead of just paying the price that I should have, which was actually more than what the bike is worth, I then had to service it. I then had to spend more money looking after it. So my advice to you guys would be, if you have a big decision or a big decision to make, sleep on it. Don't just make that impulse decision, that impulse buy. Definitely be patient, think about it, and then make that decision. Lesson number 4. Your friends here become your family. Having moved over South Africa with, at the time, my girlfriend, we were together, but unfortunately we split up, and since then I've been here all by myself. My expat family over here have definitely helped me push through, helped me get through, you know, the biggest struggles of living by yourself, being abroad. They have literally become my family away from home, and I couldn't ask for a more trustworthy, kind, and supportive friendship group than I have here in Vietnam. Having just 2 close friends is much, much better than having 20 fake friends or 20 friends that you know you would go out and see every now and again. You need those sort of friends that, you know, if you get a flat tire at 2 o'clock in the morning and you phone them, those are the people that you can rely on to pick up, jump out of bed, put on their shoes and come and get you. Those are the sort of friends that I'm lucky enough to call my friends here in Vietnam. And the last thing on friends becoming your family is you do really start to appreciate how much your family mean when you are so far away from them for so long. In fact, one of the reasons I'm actually leaving Vietnam is to go back and see my family and just be closer to my family, because you really do gain a serious appreciation for how much family mean when you are living abroad in a foreign country. Lesson number 5. Guys, logic is not universal. And what I mean by that is something that might be logical in your country is not logical in a different country, okay? Different cultures have different points of view of logic. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks in, I was on my bike and I drove in to see my friends. And now in Vietnam, they have like parking lots where you can go and park and you get a little ticket. Long story short, I parked my bike, got my ticket, went up to like my friend's apartment, and I lost the ticket. What I actually did is I threw it in the trash. Having not knowing this, I went downstairs and I went to the parking, and I literally nearly got in a fist fight with the car guard because he would not let me take my bike out. Bearing in mind that I'd only been at my friend's house for like 10 minutes. He had just seen me come in, wrote me a ticket, and because I didn't have my little piece of paper, he wouldn't let me take my bike out. So what I had to do is I actually had to go all the way back up to my friend's apartment, realize that the bin had actually been thrown down the bin chute. I had to go into the basement of the building, dig in the bin, the massive bin of everyone's trash, just to find my little parking ticket so that I could go and get my bike out. Now, for me in South Africa, logically, you've just seen me come into the parking. You know, you see my bike, you recognize my face, you're going to let me take it. I lost my ticket. But not in this country. You need to have your ticket. If you don't have your ticket, you're not getting your bike. So what I took from that is that don't try to force your logic on other cultures, because it's not going to happen. You're in their backyard, you're in their country, so just embrace it. Lesson number 6. Guys, if you are planning on going to a foreign country and you're going to stay there for, I would say, even more than a month, try to learn the language. And the reason why I say this is because I thought I was just coming to Vietnam a short stint, like a year. 5 years later now, I find myself here in Vietnam and I haven't even bothered to learn Vietnamese. And the reason why was because I was like, oh, I can't use this language anywhere else in the world. But I find myself living here for 5 years. It would have made my life a hell of a lot easier had I had learned this language. Not only that, but you can get a really good sense of the culture and really mix in with the people to give you the best experience in that country. Lesson number 7. Guys, balance is key. What I mean by this is life is what you make it. So I found myself coming to Vietnam, being like, you know, young, 23 as an expat, spending the last three and a half, 4 years just absolutely partying, living my best life, and pretty much wasting all my money away. I mean, the experiences were incredible. They were amazing and I wouldn't take them back. However, looking back, I was burning the candle on both ends. Going out, partying on the weekends, and then coming back and working during the week. and really putting myself under a lot of stress, my body under a lot of stress, and my mind under a lot of stress, when I should have really had that healthy balance. I suppose it's a learning curve. I suppose we all go through that, but my advice would be, if you are coming to this country, yes, have a great time, but don't just waste all your money away partying. Save that money, invest that money, or use that money on experiences like traveling and stuff like that. Also, celebrate the small wins. If you have that long-term goal in mind, life's not going to be easy overseas. You're in a different culture, you're in a different space, you're around other people. You really need to find that balance in life. So celebrate the small wins. It really helps to get you through there, keep you motivated, and put you on the right path. Lastly on this, take the good with the bad. There are going to be some really horrible days, and there are going to be some really good days. If you only focus on the horrible days and the negatives and why you don't want to be here, you're never going to end up enjoying yourself in that foreign country. So definitely take the good with the bad, celebrate the small wins, and make the most of it. Lesson number 8. Travel, travel, travel. Why do I say that? Well, obviously COVID has had a massive impact on the world, and I'm sure a lot of people have not been able to travel, but what that has done is it has really opened my eyes and made me more aware of my passion for traveling. Travel is a passion, and let me tell you, time flies. The last 2 years, even though COVID has been in Vietnam, it has flown by. And I'm looking back now, counting all the opportunities, that I've missed because of these last 2 years. So my advice would be, travel while you can, travel as much as you can. It definitely helps you grow as a person to see the world and see the perspective of other people and how other people are living their lives in different cultures, in different countries around the world. All right, lesson number 9. Guys, this one is a big one, and I wish I had done it when I first arrived, is budget, save, and invest. Okay, the reason why I say this, and I know it can be difficult because when I first got here, I was on a really, really low wage. I was just scraping ends meet and I was just getting by. However, that is no excuse, because I was still going out for beers with my friends, I was still ordering in food. I was still doing all this other stuff when I could be saving my money. Now, if I'd saved since I first got here, I would have a lot of money saved up. I've also spent my money on, university degrees and traveling and going out with my friends and stuff like that, which has been great. However, I advise you, as soon as you get here, just put a little bit away every single month. I promise you will reap the rewards when you leave the country. Budget, save, and invest that money, guys. Because I promise you, time flies. And before you know it, 3 years is gone and you're like, oh, if I'd put that money in this investment 3 years ago, maybe it would be this much. I'm only learning that today. I wish I had just been, put on the path sooner and I'd invested my money when I first got here. I would be in a much better financial situation now had I invested. And the last thing on this I'd say, guys, is make sure you have some sort of medical insurance. And the reason why I say that is that I have heard some serious horror stories. And now I'm fortunate that it's not in my close friendship circle, but it is my friends' friends who have been in such accidents. And if you do not have medical insurance and something bad is to happen to you overseas, I promise you the costs are extraordinary. Make sure you have some sort of medical cover. Even if it's just a basic package, get some sort of medical cover before you come over. Make sure you're looked after, and God forbid anything happens to anyone, but you just need that insurance to make sure that you have that to fall back on if something did have to happen. And the final reason, guys, is be more trusting. Coming from South Africa, there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of, as we would say, dodgy places, dodgy people. And, being around some of that growing up, I was so untrustworthy. I didn't trust anybody. You always have your wits about you. You're always looking to make sure that you're okay. And then moving over to Vietnam, you find that the people here are just incredibly kind. They're incredibly giving. They're always there to help you. And they're honest people. I've lost my wallet 3 times because it's fallen out of my pocket in the motorway, or in fact it was once in the Hai Giang loop in the middle of nowhere, and I've managed to get my wallet back 3 times because of the honesty of the people in this country. Another great example I would give you is my mechanic. I took my bike into the mechanic, I got there to pay the next day, and I didn't have enough money. He was like, here's the keys, take your bike, come back and give me the money tomorrow. Now, obviously I went straight to the ATM to go and pay him, but it's just that kind of, trust, and that's, just that people over here just trust each other, and it's really opened my eyes to, just be more trusting. And lastly, just go ahead and try new things within reason, especially like things like the food, and the culture. just get involved and try. I'll give you an example. I once went on a date with a girl and she took me to a street food vendor and she ordered us this food and she's like, you're gonna love it. And I'm like, okay, cool, bring it on. What they bought me was a duck fetus in an egg. And it was probably the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my life. But it turns out it's a delicacy here in Vietnam. But I still tried it anyway. You know, those are the sort of things you should try. Get involved. I promise you, you won't regret it. You're never gonna know till you try, right? Alright guys, so that's it from me. Briefly summed up, those are the 10 key lessons that I have learned since living in Vietnam for the past 5 years. I hope this video was valuable for you guys. If you want to get in touch with me, please leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I love making these videos and I hope they add value to your guys' life. Until next time, I'll see you later. Cheers.